I went on this tour, it was a 2 week tour. I had a tour guide and also when we went places, a driver, and the driver would stay with us all day. He'd wait in his car while, you know, I fussed around and toured around, and he'd be there at the end of the day to take us back up to our hotel rooms or wherever we're going.
Is that the Nile River over there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the Nile.
في مية بقى جنبه معلش بتحرك انا اسف.
Next to you, sir, there is a bottle of water which is. And they're living in this place since thousands of years, hundreds of years. And they're very rich.
They're very rich, wealthy. Okay.
They do businesses mainly in the tourism field. They do like motels in the area over here nearby, like small hotels.
In order to get up close and personal with the Great Pyramid, you have to buy a ticket. It's a restricted area. So this is the crowd in the ticketing area. And you also, if you want to go in the King's Chamber, which I later did, you have to buy another ticket for that. Okay, this is a little background on the Giza Plateau and all its wonders that it shows. The Giza Plateau is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it stands as a testament to the ingenuity and ambition of ancient Egyptian civilizations. And that's an understatement, really, because it's probably beyond doubt the most incredible archaeological, historical site that there is in the world. Its iconic monuments, primarily the pyramids and the Sphinx, have captivated humanity for millennia. And this goes way back. Even the Greeks before the Romans were idolized and were fascinated with the Egyptian culture. Many of the great Greek philosophers had studied in Egypt, and the Romans continued that reverence for Egypt as they also revered the history of it, and also, as the Greeks did actual repairs on many of their monuments. Let's go into a deeper exploration of these aspects. First, we're going to talk about the pyramids and the architectural marvels. The Great Pyramid of Khufu, that's the biggest, the largest of the Giza pyramids, is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the world. The other 6 are gone. Its sheer scale and precision are astounding. The size of it is enormous, beyond measure, and the size of the stonework in some places is unfathomable. Above the King's Chamber, there are slabs of granite that weigh 80,000 pounds, and they were brought up from Aswan quarries, which was 400 miles away, and nobody can understand even to this day how that was done. So the construction techniques are a subject of debate, with many theories ranging from ramps, levers, and even lately someone has proposed a system of raising it by water levels. The stones, but nobody knows really exactly how all that stonework, millions of stones were placed, very heavy stones, in such a precise management location. The precise alignment of the pyramid is with cardinal directions astrologically connected, and it's a testament of the advanced astronomical knowledge that the Egyptians had. And now that's all regarding the Great Pyramid, the Pyramid of so-called Khufu. Now, there's a lot of debate about this whole thing, about it being the Pyramid of Khufu, because traditional archaeology claims that Khufu, that was his to be his burial monument. But and the king's chamber, which is located deep inside that pyramid, was supposedly his resting place. And there is one stone sarcophagus in there. However, there's no inscriptions at all on the walls or any place. And when you tour around Egypt, as we will later, you'll find every place where an Egyptian pharaoh was buried. There's all kinds of inscriptions on the wall, hieroglyphics, to help the deceased pharaoh guide him through the afterlife. And there's none of that in there. So there's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of alternative archaeology says no, this couldn't have been a burial chamber because it's missing the usual characteristics of a burial chamber. But anyway, I digress on that. Still, like I said, the stone structure and how those stones were brought there and formed and lifted to the heights they were is. Now let's move on to the Sphinx. The Sphinx, with its lion body and human head, is one of the world's largest and oldest monolithic sculptures. And by monolithic, we mean it was carved out of one stone. There was an outcropping in the bedrock, and that stone was carved in the figure of the Sphinx. Its precise origins and purpose remain shrouded in mystery, which just adds to the allure of an attraction. The weathering on the Sphinx, now that's where the alternative archaeology has gotten deeply involved in the specific dating of the Sphinx, because the Sphinx has been, by traditional archaeology, said to have been made in the Old Kingdom sometime around when Khufu's pyramid. It was a long time ago, approximately 4,000 years ago. But according to a well-known geologist who observed the weathering patterns of water erosion on the Sphinx and around the stonework that was there at the time of the construction of the Sphinx, he's dated it to over 9,000 or 10,000 years old, way, way older, because the rainfall in Egypt was, as it is today, very limited and incapable of creating erosion patterns that are seen on the Sphinx and the stone around it. And that's created a big controversy because traditional archaeology still denies that. But it creates the allure and the mystery even more. So the placement of the Sphinx was suggested as a role of a guardian for the whole necropolis. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. Now, the surrounding necropolis includes the tombs of mastabas. The Giza Plateau includes numerous smaller tombs and mastabas where officials and members of the elite were buried. So there was a pecking order here in the society, and there were still elaborate burials for if you were higher up in Egyptian society. It was definitely a class society, and it had quite a class structure with higher ups being given elite burials compared to the masses. These tombs provide valuable insight into the social structure and the funerary practices around Egypt. Archaeological discoveries have revealed evidence of settlements where pyramid builders lived and worked. And as I mentioned, that recent discovery of how relatively lavish the workers were living rewrote the whole slavery narrative. Settlements offer a glimpse into the daily lives of the people and contributed to these monumental projects, because there's a lot of interesting hieroglyphic graffiti, if you can believe it, by the workers, what they said about them. It's kind of comical because sometimes they're talking about a boss they don't like or some typical stuff that you might find even today, but they had that, and it was very interesting and intuitive knowledge to find out about the working class Egyptian. And there's ongoing research discoveries being made. There's advanced technologies such as ground penetrating radar, 3D scanning, and a number of methods that have uncovered hidden chambers and structures, not only around and under the Sphinx, but also around the Great Pyramid. And the Great Pyramid has a chamber that goes down below ground level over 100 meters, and that's amazing. And you can go down there with special permits, and you got to pay extra money, and it's a very difficult climb down in there. The technologies, these technologies are helping to refine our understanding of this Giza Plateau and layout, but we are by no means near understanding everything here. And again, the mysteries of it, and I would say the dragging of the feet doing it, because if it was someplace like here in America, they'd be all over it and digging it up and finding everything as soon as they can. But actually, in a way, it might be good. Egypt keeps it at a slow pace, and it's definitely a major tourist site in the world. So why release the mysteries? Let it stay that way, because something big was going on there. And the ongoing excavations and research will continue to yield new discoveries and shed more light on the construction techniques, the social organization, religious beliefs of the ancient Egyptians. The work is done by organizations such as the Ancient Egypt Research Associates, that's called AERA, and others that are constantly adding to the knowledge. And the challenges involved environmental factors. The Giza Plateau faces environmental factors such as wind erosion and rising groundwater. Because what's happened is the Aswan Dam was built, and the water usage has been important. So the water flow is kept year-round, and the groundwater never changes. So there are problems from that associated with the groundwater staying higher. And then, of course, as you see in some of the video, you can see the urbanization that's visible when you're on the Giza Plateau. You can see Giza and Cairo in the distance, and all the buildings and stuff. So they're right on it. But again, the tourism is essential for supporting the site, and it brings in lots of money. I think Egypt's economy, 20% of its gross national product comes from tourism. And I'll tell you, when you go there, I even before that, I talked with and investigated people's reaction and experience, and I have never had anybody come back from a visit to Egypt and say, God, I was disappointed. Just about everybody says they were overwhelmed. And most of the people, some of them which were world travelers, said that was the most fascinating place they've ever been. So it is definitely worth seeing. There's no doubt about it.
Until then, remember, if you care to drive, drive with care. This is Bradley Crawford saying, see you next week.